Record. Brilliant. So thank you all so much for giving us your time this afternoon, especially after what I can only imagine has been the busiest time of the year for many people in the room. And if you're still teaching functional skills, then well done to you, because I'm sure you've still got a good few weeks. And if you do anything over the summer, make sure you give yourself a bit of space and grace and time. My name's Holly. I work for the EA, or I volunteer at the EA, and my role is Deputy Chair for the Secondary and Further Education Committee. And I'm really pleased to be able to welcome you into this space this afternoon. Just a quick word about the English Association, what we do before we kick off. We're a learner society and subject association which was founded in 1906 to promote and support and celebrate the discipline of English studies. And we cover all stages of education, from primary, early years through to secondary, further education and higher education and beyond. We cover all parts of the discipline across language, linguistics, literature, creative writing, and events like these are only made possible by the fantastic contribution to our volunteer speakers this afternoon. So a massive thank you to all of our speakers for giving up your time, especially on this lovely afternoon as well. It's also made possible by our members, who help to keep these events free and open by paying their membership fees. So if you would like to join and contribute to the national conversation that we hold around the discipline of English to help and support our discipline of English, then please do consider joining us. It's around £55 for the year, and it works out around just over £1 a week. And you get access to a range of member benefits, such as online access to our journals and our use of English Journal, which many of our members and volunteers can also get their work published within. So I want to say a massive thank you again for coming. This is Gathering Voices FE. We're on our 6th session of Gathering Voices FE, I think. It might even be our 7th. It's very much a grassroots event that's come from the voices of teachers that we hear and know and need within our platforms and our communities. So we've got 4 fantastic speakers today. I'm not going to take up much time, because these are the people that you want to come and see and want to come and listen to. We've got Abby, Sophie, Emily and Trudy today, and they're going to be talking to you about a whole host of things. And if at any time during this you want to ask them a question, you could pop a question in the Q&A or the chat box, and we'll try and pick it up where we can. And if we don't manage to pick it up, they'll be picking it up in the chat afterwards. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to hand over to Sophie first, if that's okay.
I wasn't quite ready, Holly, but yeah, that's absolutely fine. Right, let me share my screen. Just give me a shout if you can't see it, won't you? Okay.
We've got it, Soph.
You got it? Okay, brilliant. Right, so fabulous. So 10 minutes to give you a whistle-stop tour of Warrington and Vale Royal College and my role as curriculum manager and literacy lead. So I thought it would be, if it was me, what would I like to know? I'd probably like to hear about how colleges differ, what our current challenges are, although I'd like to reframe that word challenges towards the end of it, and what we're doing about some of those challenges or things that we deal with daily. So let's get started. So just a bit of background. You will all be experiencing the same thing, I suspect. We are having roughly a 17% increase in our cohort over the last 2 years. So that's the challenge in terms of our numbers. Within that, over 70% of our learners have a declared support need. Warrington, if you don't know, is in the northwest of England. In itself, it's not a particularly deprived area, but there are real hotspots of deprivation, and the college sits right in the centre of that. So that creates some challenges for us in itself. Disadvantaged postcode, you can see there 68% of our learners come from a disadvantaged postcode. And you'll also see, one of the things I wanted to highlight is our staffing. So we are dropping gradually. So our student numbers are increasing, but our staffing is dropping gradually. And obviously that is a little bit of a challenge. So we'll talk to you a little bit about how we're dealing with that. So in terms of our actual cohort, again, because what I find as a curriculum manager that's really frustrating is how we make comparisons from college to college. And I think it's really important to think about the individual cohorts and how colleges differ. And that's one of the big battles I have in terms of data and justifying my data. So when we look at our cohort, our biggest cohort is our construction trades cohort. We also have 67% of our cohort is boys. So that influences how we think about our teaching a little bit, and perhaps what we might put in our scheme of learning and the texts that we use. Our classes are mixed, so we don't teach brickwork on their own. We might teach brickwork and hairdressing also. That in itself is a little bit of a challenge as well. But that's quite interesting when you think about it. We have 2 sessions a week, 2 1.5 hours a week, and our attendance is probably one of the best in the Northwest, I'm pretty pleased to say. So we're in quite a big network, and our attendance tracks college attendance and is sometimes better than college attendance. So we're not quite sure how we manage that, but we do. So we're really proud of that. So I thought what might be really interesting, and I don't know how many of you will be familiar with this, is this is our heat map. So again, as a curriculum manager, this is what I am justifying at the moment, actually, where our department sits in terms of that. And this has come off the back of the new Ofsted framework. We had an Ofsted inspection this year, and we did really well in it. But it was based on the old framework. So this is what we're now working towards going forwards. So you can see there's quite a few ambers in there, which is not obviously where I would like to be. One of the things about data is how it's used for maths and English, and there's the AOC has lots of interesting information on this. Eddie Playfair has some quite strong feelings on this and comparisons that are made and what are within our realm of control, and I find myself justifying this quite a lot. So we talk about our attendance, which again, our attendance for maths and English has been brilliant, but generally it's slightly below the college attendance. And so we were initially given an attention needed for that. So I've had to fight really hard, because the context of maths and English particularly, is that our attendance is always slightly below, and actually we're doing really, really well. So really just to kind of highlight the things that are going on. You'll see retention on there. Again, that's something that we fight for yearly, that shouldn't particularly sit with maths and English. It's not something we have control over, but it's something that I'm targeted on every year. And also you can see value added there has concerns around it. And that's to do with, we use OneGrade to track our value added. And obviously at the moment we're putting predictions in. We do this before we get the GCSE results, and we grade the department before we get GCSE results, which is perplexing to me. But equally, what we find is, and what we struggle to sort of convey to people within college, is that often GCSE students can perform quite differently on the day than what evidence suggests to us. So it's kind of mapping that across. And then you'll also see we've got questioning on there. So checking for understanding and questioning. And that was something that Ofsted picked up on, actually. And that's a challenge around students responding with really simple yes, no answers, and how we can extend that questioning for critical thinking. So we're doing quite a big piece of work on that this year to improve our questioning within our staff. However, I really wanted to highlight that in our QDP, so our survey of our students, 97% of our learners felt they were making progress in English. So whatever our statistics show, our students feel safe, they feel like they're making progress, and they feel like it's worthwhile being here, which for us, we are really, really chuffed with. That's probably my most important thing, actually. So some of the ongoing challenges, which I've kind of alluded to, the logistics. So we're struggling with rooms for next year. So where to put these students. Staffing, as I've already said, we've lost over the last 3 years, we've lost about a 0.5 member of staff that we haven't replaced. And we're losing potentially 3 learning facilitators who work specifically in maths and English this year as well, just due to financial constraints. Exam costs, we're not entering any for November resit next year due to the exam costs and the financial situation of the college. The ever increasing exam access arrangements. So we are on to, I think for maths and English combined, we had over 2,000 individual exam access arrangements and over 70 rooms just for English. So the challenges around that. An ongoing battle around the language around maths and English, and this kind of idea of shared responsibility. Staff morale is particularly challenging at the moment, with growing numbers of students and sort of decreasing staffing and potentially growing class sizes, and how we support that. We changed our exam board to, this will be our second year, so second set of results that we changed the exam board. And obviously if you were with Pearson last year, you will know there was the big hike in results, which we weren't quite ready for. So that's sort of impacted some of the language around college, around English, and sort of what we do. And then, as I've alluded to, the kind of data monitoring and justification of our status. I'm very protective of the English and maths teams, and I will always fight for what we do. So that's always something that's a really big focus for us. So how do we tackle it? So there's a lot of words on there. I'm not expecting you to read it, but I think what's really important is that kind of first paragraph. So this is the intent of our intent. And one of our key things for us, our sort of belief in the department, is that it's not really, it's about, well, it says it there, building confidence, self-belief, resilience. That's what we are about. And along the way, that should support the GCSE or functional skills content. But what we really want to focus on and what we really want to think about is that if a student leaves us without gaining a GCSE or without coming back to us for a year, what skills have we given to them to go out into life and to develop? And I think if we don't think about that as a department, then we're doing a disservice really to our students. So how we do two pathways as well. So we do an accelerate and an essential. And the essential is really about, if you come in with us with a grade U or a 1 or a 2, you will be with us for 2 years and we will really support you. And it's very much about progress and the language around progress so that we can celebrate progress. So obviously you can have a read of that at your leisure, but that was the most important thing for me on there. So we welcome our students with an employability project. So we spend 3 weeks where we don't do any English. So the employability project really focuses on mapping across the AOs to what employers want. And that is not from Lightcast or EMSI data. We've gone out specifically to our local employers and said to them, in terms of literacy, what would you say our 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds are lacking when they come to you? And we've worked that into a scheme of learning. So it's a big focus on oracy, group work, confidence in the classroom, learning behaviours. And we spend sort of 3 weeks on that before we even start going into our main intent. And it's only in week 4 where we give them the first assessment. And we've specifically done that because we don't want them to come into English and the first thing they do is to do an assessment, because we know how kind of overwhelming that is for them. So they work up towards that first written assessment. And then the rest of that really you'll be familiar with, but that's sort of the main kind of our main thing that we do. We have our non-negotiables, which we've agreed as a team. So big focus throughout the year on employability. We are always linking back to employability. Because of our large cohort of kind of construction trades learners, we have a lot of level 1 learners. So, and we're really good at making progress with those learners. Where we get sticky is the grade 3 to the grade 4s. So oracy tasks in every lesson. It's not just talk for the sake of it. It's real scaffolded with clear outcomes. Students struggle to codify, they struggle to talk, they struggle to use the right vocabulary, so we're supporting them to do that. Pre-teaching of vocabulary, so when we've done a bit of work with Lexonic over the last 2 years, we were coming out with reading ages around 12, 13, so lots of work around reading skills and pre-teaching of vocabulary. We've done a big piece on cognitive overload last year to kind of make an awareness and an understanding that, you know, actually getting to the writing of the question can be really, really challenging if you can't get to even making the marks on paper and understanding the spelling, punctuation and grammar. We're thinking about lots of teach questions beforehand this time because of the Ofsted feedback, and really the engaging and challenging text. What do we want to teach? What's fun and engaging and what they're going to enjoy? And just that idea of celebration of progress, which again is the challenge with the language in college, because it's still all about high grades and grades 4. So we're fighting really hard to celebrate progress. So that's kind of what we do. I think for me, I think there's a lot of negative noise around GCSE resets, and actually I think we really need to reframe those challenges and these frustrations, because this is kind of our norm, and really we need to be thinking about all of these little fractional improvements that we're doing to make the journey of the students better. There is no magic bullet for this. There is lots of talk around reform and what that might look like. But at the end of the day, we've got a system where students get to have another go at and improve their literacy and improve their numeracy. So it's about how we can make that the best it can be. I think one of our big things for us is considering life skills. So not just focusing on the GCSE, what are we teaching them? What skills have they got for when they go out into employment? If they don't get that GCSE or that functional skills, which we know is a reality for some of our learners. And I think the big message really is it's really hard, but we really stay positive and add value in any way we can, not just thinking about GCSE or functional skills. So to end, I was just going to share a little bit of my positivity this year. It's not often we get thank you presents, and it's not thank you presents that make us feel valued, is it? It's the little things. But strangely enough, a few weeks ago, I'd popped this post on LinkedIn about how much I love my job, and I was reflecting about why I love my job when I find it such a difficult job, and it is a really challenging and difficult job, and I feel like I'm fighting all the time. But when I go out into the corridor, I see 40, 50, 16, 17, 18-year-olds who absolutely love coming into English. They feel safe, they think it's fun, the texts are interesting. Not all of them, I'm painting this rosy picture, but they enjoy the rapport with the teachers and they are learning skills and how to interact with people. And when they leave us, they've grown. And that's, for me, that is absolutely why I love my job. So that's it.
What a lovely way to end, Soph. That's lovely. And I love the little, is it a poem about Class of Pearson 2.0?
Yeah, so one of my adults wrote this poem, and then she also knitted this slightly. I don't know if it's frightening or not.
It's lovely. Much more talented than me, I could tell you.
So yeah, but I'm very lucky. But that isn't what makes me grateful. I really do. It's the little things I do. So I'll shut up.
No, thank you. Thank you ever so much. I noticed there's a couple of people with their hands up. We're just going to move on quite quickly. So if you've got a question for Sophie, pop it in the chat and she'll be able to pick it up. Right, we're going to pass over now to Trudy.
Oh, I'll take myself off mute. That's the start, isn't it? Right, I'll just grab my PowerPoint. Can we see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
Yeah, good. So, sorry guys, I'm a bit nervous first go speaking, but I'm actually relatively new to education. So I joined Chesterfield College in 2023. And I was working as part of the workforce development, administrating and sort of facilitating and planning before moving into a role in November last year as a learning facilitator. Now, as a learning facilitator, we found that our predominant focus is within maths and English, and that's where the cover was highlighted. And there is just me at the moment, so it kind of left me in a place to make it sort of what I wanted. Prior to working in education, I spent the previous 15 years in financial services, in the learning and development mainly, within the contact centre. So that the reason I'm telling you this is that kind of inspired some of the stuff that I've put together. I'm going to sort of tell you about. So I've covered a bit of this. So my role requires me to cover English lessons across various vocational areas, often at short notice. And what I've noticed with that, when we were using Century, and the slots are an hour and a half long, sometimes if they've got a double, it was too long to expect those learners to maintain the focus and concentration with that service. So I kind of took a step back and thought, what can I do to make a maximum impact in the limited time I have with those learners? Because I might cover a class for a few weeks, but I might also see a class once and then never again. So my passion and what really interested me was a deep focus on contextualization of English skills in the vocational education. Sorry. So I brought this mindset to the classroom by using my limited time with the learners to emphasize the why of English. And that was inspired from my time in sort of telecommunications, really. Because in that area, we always ask when someone takes a phone call to get the root cause of that call, the why. Why is that person calling? What is it that they really need to dig a little bit deeper? But we'd also use that for our staff as well, to empower them, understand the why, get that root cause, and understand why you're doing what you're doing. So tried to apply that context to the learners. So why are those English skills essential in their daily lives? Why these skills matter in their chosen vocational areas, and why embracing English can open greater career and life opportunities. So I'm trying to make the learning more purposeful and relevant and impactful, because there were times when I'd go in and learners would say, you know, why am I doing this? I'm doing automotive. No, let's talk about that. Let's open that conversation up and tell you why. And it started with a pretty sort of simple method, really, that allowed me to build rapport and motivate those learners, because a lot of the time I might be meeting them for the first time. So lessons always consistently began with an interactive task. So learners worked in groups using the mind map. It was really simple, just a big piece of flip chart and pens, and to mind map their course specific English requirements. So what English skills do you need that are related to your course? And it was to really open a dialogue with those, and sometimes manage some challenging conversations to really discuss and reflect on how improving these skills benefits their career prospects and academic success. And that would more often than not end up looking a little bit like this. And that was to try and make sure that those learners became more engaged and invested in the task, uh, and make sure that they understand the relevance of English to their vocational identity. So, you know, why do you need those English skills? So with the plumbing learners, for example, if you're going to write English, if you're going to write invoices, sorry, you need to be able to use persuasive language, formal language, to really encourage your customers to want to pay you. So really putting it on them, actually, this is really important to what I want to do. And building that intrinsic motivation by getting learners to understand the link between their English skills and their future careers, and then linking it to the curriculum as a whole. Once that was then done, I always made sure to follow that up as well, and build that and sort of transition, scaffold that into their vocational area as well. So I would take these flip charts away, and they would then become displays within their classrooms. So I'd just use MindMeister and then build that into a mind map, colourful mind map, and make sure that that was displayed prominently for those students to really revisit and understand why they were doing what they were doing. And we could even funnel that a little bit further and make that into um, co- written communication. So these ones are for art, for example, and really making sure to revisit those skills. If I had a student group again, I would then be able to recall and revisit that with them as well. Once I'd done that task, it didn't sort of stop there, and it started to sort of grow arms and legs, really. And I was thinking, what can I really do to follow this up and get that buy-in and support my colleagues who are teaching these students to pass that exam? How can I have an impact to really make sure that they know that that's important? So I started looking at tasks, really contextualized tasks that I could then follow this up with. And I've just got some examples here of some of the ones that I made, with the support sometimes of ChatGPT, and Canva especially. So looking at the vocational area and then the tasks available, I'll just whiz through a few with you. So plumbing, carpentry and painting and decorating, all different areas, but an easily replicatable task was invoice writing. So sometimes, dependent on the level of the group, we'd start it with blanked out words and then really get them to dig into the vocabulary of what they could do and how to make that sound formal and persuade payment. So we'd start looking at that. With public services, we got a shoplifting and analysed a shoplifting police report, looked at the language in there, and then got them to replicate and write their own report with focus on the tone and the language that they'd need. So it was really contextualised to what they wanted to do. And it was a real opportunity to build rapport with those learners as well, and sort of find out a bit about what they'd come from and where they were going. and then use that to tie that to why English is important and what it's going to help them with, and be able to continue to revisit that. So art and design as well, we'd create a social media post to promote an art event and focus on language for the target audience. And music, we would identify language features and the connotations in the lyrics, and then follow this up with a written text for them to carry those skills across. A lot of the time, the saying I'd find myself saying with these learners is, you don't need to reinvent the wheel, guys. These skills are already there. You use them every day in your vocation. Just need to make sure that you're channeling them in the right places. And then travel and tourism, there's an example of that one up there. They would use customer profiles to identify needs and recommend appropriate services. So that would include research and using information to find sort of relevant holidays or services. And hair and beauty would be persuasive writing with a price list and leaflet incorporated. And if anyone wants to see or use any of these resources, they're normally about half-an-hour tasks. Please just reach out to me because I can send them across and I'm happy to share. And then catering and hospitality, there's another example there. That was comparing two menus. So we'd have a copy of sort of a really standard menu, and then one that was more descriptive, pick out the differences, the features, and then they would build their own. So just making sure to really start channeling and try and help and support within English that penny to drop really, and support colleagues in getting that buy-in with English, because it's so important. And when I think about my job as a previously in learning and development in the contact center, it was really there's certain skills that if we can support and embed those certain communication skills, oracy in particular, it'll help sort of transition into that job, because it's a lot harder to train when you're employed than embedding them when they are younger, which is what I've tried to support and help with. But that's all from me. I'm really keen to collaborate. I'm really new to the teaching world. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Trudy. Lots of grateful people asking for your resources in the chat there. I think something that I just wanted to share about Trudy, which I thought was amazing, is that Trudy's not only, you know, stepped into this role recently, but actually the role was around facilitating English and maths. And actually what she's gone away and done is she's really got to grips with the discipline and the kind of curriculum that we're dealing with, has created them resources off her own back rather than having somebody else's cover and having them in a classroom, and has created an absolute, you know, minefield of wonderful resources that have been able to be shared across college. So it's great that you've been able to walk into FE, Trudy, and just really like immerse yourself in it and be so passionate about it. So thank you. And there's lots of people in the chat box inviting resources, so do respond to them. Right, so many great things happening, everyone. I'm going to pass over now to Abby, if that's all right, Abby.
Sorry, I'm just sorting myself out.
That's all right. I think it's obligatory now that we have to say, can you see my screen? Like, they're all like bingo card ones that you tick yourself off with, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so hello, my name is Abigail Monday. I'm an English lecturer at Cambridge Regional College. Like Trudy, I'm actually quite new to teaching as well. I'm only in my 4th year. So what I'm doing and what I've been able to kind of take from those 4 years is essentially, what can I take from other people? What can I steal from other people? And hopefully, fingers crossed, that this is something that you guys can take away as well. So just kind of my background of who I am. So like I said, I've got 4 years of teaching, and I mainly work in the engineering, science and IT department. So I've got a massive array of students, different types of levels as well. So I'd probably see more engineers than I would see science. So it is a lot of different kind of varying levels that I have to deal with. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're lovely, all of them. I've not had a bad bunch, I think. So what I thought I might talk about today is actually something that's probably going to be relevant to some of you in the next few weeks, which is taster days. And I just want to share some of my kind of things that I like doing with my on my taster days. So the kind of reason why I do like these types of things is because it's a great way to kind of get them involved, interacting, and getting talking to each other. And what I like to do is I like to use games. So games is my biggest inspiration. And what I like to do, and I'll show you some of the things that we're doing actually tomorrow as well, is taking the kind of classic tabletop games that you probably wouldn't think of and kind of like turning it into a really nice taster day that's embedding English and their course that they're going to study. So the reason why I chose games, obviously, because it's versatile. You get lots of physical elements in there. There's a lot of scaffolding involved with it as well. And with that, you can do a lot of assessment for learning. So if you know, obviously, if you know you've got this group of students, and you can kind of really get a gauge of what their kind of learning is and what their level is at the same time. And then at the end of the day, I just think it's nice and fun just to do kind of a nice little activity like this. So this presentation is short and sweet, but it's mainly going to be me focusing on the actual games itself. So this is just a little bit of a snapshot of the type of games that I've done for the past few years. So tomorrow we're going to be doing a nice Monopoly game with the engineering students. I like to do a little bit of Cluedo because it's probably one of my favorite games. So I did that with the ICT students a couple of years back, and then we did an escape room as well for the previous year's taster day. So like I said, I probably won't use this much, but I'm going to show you some of my resources that I've used. So this is from my Cluedo, and this was able to incorporate some of the assessment objectives within English that you'd find, so the implicit and explicit. So what they had to do was go through, obviously, the alibis and kind of look and identify the implicit and explicit information of who actually was the murderer. And on top of that, with that as well, incorporating a nice little bit of ICT within there, getting some Morse code in. So this was a nice little activity for them as well, so they could actually find out some hidden meanings, and they have the everything that they need on the sheet. Now, what I'm doing tomorrow is a nice little Monopoly. So I have all of these printed out, nice, ready for me. And one thing I didn't mention is I do like to incorporate maths as well. So I'm currently with my maths teacher tomorrow doing this. So that's why there's a bit of maths in there as well. So I like to collaborate with my maths teacher in the department. So we've currently got loads and loads and loads, as you can see, of different questions here, and it's based on building a car, because obviously in engineering that's kind of something that you would do. So we've gone with the whole aspect of, as soon as they land on it, they answer this question. So as you can see, maths and English, and then they collect the card, and there'll be nice forfeits as well for them with go for it. And some examples, I know it's probably very difficult to see, but I can share these resources. But here are some of the resources and the community chest and chance forfeits that they are going to be doing. So some of them might just be, for example, here, the welding of your car was done poorly, complete a forfeit challenge to steal a car part. So that's one of the community chest ones. Obviously, they got get out of jail free cards, and then with the chance questions as well, you've got some where you can advance to services, answer the question, to take an opponent's card. So it's just a nice little fun game, and it's going to be a really nice kind of way to get them involved, because we've got loads and loads of different other forfeits in there. So I think we've got them, a forfeit is they have to create a haiku about exams tomorrow, or they have to place a Scrabble. They have to play a game of Scrabble, which is what they do. And that's one thing that I also do in my lessons. If they finish off their work, I always like to have a little game of Scrabble with them, try and see if they can develop their vocabulary. And I did that as one of my revision tools towards the end. I gave them words that they had to create synonyms of using the Scrabble tiles and go against each other. So hopefully you can see that a lot of my kind of inspiration to kind of making more interactive games is based on tabletop games. And like I said, I'll be able to share any kind of resources or anything that you want for this. Like I said, I know it was a bit short and sweet, but that's what I've got. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Abby. I know you're telling me about some of those games the other day, so I'm excited to hear about the ones that you're going to be delivering afterwards. Right, we'll hand over then to our next speaker, Emily.
Oh, I'm just unmuting myself. I'm just going to
That's okay.
share the screen, just make sure I have it. Okay. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, so what I've done is I've kind of gone into aspects for planning for the next academic year, going on the back of kind of what Sophie was saying. I'm quite resemble like lots of aspects there. So I've got 5 full-time members of staff, and they have to be fully utilised. So you're looking at 20 sessions a week. So that's 3 times 1 hour and 15 minutes, 3 sessions a week. We used to have it in areas, but now we are completely mixed. I do believe that has been a downfall to our attendance. Our attendance at the moment, so we have just newly merged as South Hampshire College Group with Eastleigh College, Southampton City College, and ourselves at Fareham College. Our attendance at Fareham here at the moment is 69%, which we're not happy about. I end up with about 80% normally. I think we've had to do a new matrix this year. We've had to combine classes. As the same as Sophie said, our classes are rammed. We're looking at, we probably at about 20 a class now, where before I would have a cap at 15. They are 20 now because our pass rate for the November resits did us a favour. We got a 50% pass rate. So I've just made a note here off the back of what Sophie was saying. So I lost 64 students. So that made my classes more manageable. We've just had Ofsted in the past couple of weeks. So that's been quite daunting. And their outcome for maths and English across the group was attendance, of course. Our attendance for the GCSEs were 93%. So I'm quite happy with that. And that's just a little, I just wanted to go on the back of what somebody else said to kind of make a bit of comparison of what's going on. We are very lucky at Fareham College. I have maths and English classrooms, just one floor is English and one floor is maths, and they are our allocated classrooms. So we never have a problem. Andrew Kay here is all about maths and English. The ethos here is a bit the same as what Sophie was saying there. Over a 2-year period, we expect them to get that grade 4. So our ethos here is 1 grade progression, which is our main focus at the moment. So that's just a little bit of intel kind of about the college. What we've done at the moment is we have invested in quite a bit of money, again from Andrew Kay, realising that our attendance had dipped. Our numbers had gone up by about 20%. At the moment, I've got about 700 maths, I would say about 600 English. Considering our college is probably 2,000 max with the withdrawal, you're probably looking at just under that. So I would say our 3 colleges are becoming maths and English colleges. You know, we are taking on, that is where the funding comes from at the moment. So what we have done is we've put this new, you probably see it if you're following me on LinkedIn. I basically designed the hub and I got very excited about this. So it's bridging gaps of learning. We're doing a major work on support and anxiety. We're offering one-to-one support, integrating young person back into the classrooms, so trying for them to get these low attendance, finding out what's going on there. It might be that they have, you know, gaps in their learning that they're really worried about. So they contact next of kin. You know, we put in, instead of they don't want to go into a big classroom, we pull them into the Maths and English hub. And we really focus on that personal social development. Where we are trying also, like I said, to build those really close relationships with next of kin. I don't know if this video is going to work, but I did a bit of a video and I posted this on LinkedIn once the hub was done. I didn't want it looking like a classroom. I was really adamant that I wanted it really funky. I don't know if you can see in the image here, I've kind of done an English side and then a maths side. I've got lyrics here of the kids' favourite songs that they've selected, and I've put that in the English. It's more of a drop-in room, and we have got 2 intervention tutors, so 1 for English and 1 for maths. So I would say this is something that we are really keen in the Maths and English department is that wraparound care. I don't know if this video is going to work. It might do. Oh, did it work?
Yeah.
Brill. So that is our kind of new provision that we've got on offer, which is working out well. A lot, especially over the revision period, some have just been dropping in saying with, you know, exam anxiety, we can't go in the classroom. Can we go up to the hub? And I'm like, yep, that door is always open. Lunch times, they come in here and they've got board games and stuff. We've got an open door policy on the Maths and English floor where the students can just come in. They might want to charge their phone before the lesson and kind of have that feel where they can, that safe environment again. A massive one for us that we need to drive, obviously, off the back of it, Ofsted. Obviously, it is dropped our attendance and it is a massive. What I wanted to do is the Maths and English, I wanted them to kind of take ownership on this and stress to the vocational areas, you know, about the importance of attending. There's some real good data there at the moment, especially fed on from secondary schools, that how much you miss within the year does have that impact of getting that grade 4. So what we've kind of done, I've just popped some images on here. So we had the whole of the colleges come together. And I kind of done this presentation that then my my English and Maths lecturers buddied up together and they basically gave out the message. So we had a look over devising timetables for vocational staff for Maths and English to come over and do attendance checks. We did showed Cross College how to access attendance data. So we have reports which are really good that basically go into the vocational area. You can see the vocational area's attendance. You click into that again, it then provides the courses for the area. If you click into it again, it then delves into each student. So we're doing that collaboration. We're showing that data of like, you know, this is a cross-college responsibility. It isn't just Maths and English. And also, it allowed us that opportunity for the November resits to say thanks for the attendance, because everybody on exam mornings, whether it's mocks, whether it's the November resits or the actual exams, are just flying around getting those kids into the classrooms. And I really do feel this kind of collaborative approach has really built really good relationships. Again, I'm really lucky here. We've had the same kind of CAMs here. I've been here 15 years, so I'm very lucky that the CAMs that are in place in the vocational areas, the CAMs are curriculum area managers, know the students really well, walk up, they can speak to me. They might, you know, come into Johnny's construction class and go, where were you last week? Why haven't you been in? And I'm kind of like, yeah, Johnny, why haven't you been in? You know, what's the problem? And it's that real collaborative approach that we're going for. So this was just highlighting that attendance. Like I said to you, it's about 70% at the moment. Our lowest attenders are construction, hair and beauty, and what we've done is got those intervention coaches that we've got. I shouldn't call them coaches. We've moved from that, tutors, sorry. And they are working with them to feed them back, integrate them back into the classroom. So that is attendance. I just wanted to give a little insight of the kind of wraparound care that we provide within the English and Maths department. So what we've kind of done is do kind of reward systems, and look at learner surveys. We do 3 learner surveys each term. We always do put a wellbeing question in there to say, how do you feel the English and Maths department kind of rate your well-being? Do they look after you? And that's at the moment, I think it's about 4.20. So, and that is, you know, that's a high majority. I think I had about 300 respond on a QR code. So I would like it more, considering we've got that many students, but I do think for a student spending their time to fill out that survey on a Teams page, using a or put up on the board in lessons to scan it, a QR code isn't bad going, is it? So it's always that student voice and putting things into place. So we've got an outdoor gym, which is outside. Ivy, my English lecturer, does this as a bit of a reward scheme. So if they do part of the lesson for the last part, maybe once a month, she's like, right, if you get the work done and you do the reading tasks that I've set, you can use the outdoor gym. So they go in. So that's quite a nice tool that we've used recently. We've got our own therapy dog within the department, our lovely Bella. You can see up in the corner. She comes in, and again, she's used as reward. It is a member of staff within the Maths and English department who has trained Bella, and the college have paid for the insurance, but she's taken her all through the training. And she is basically used for our hard to reach classes, especially construction. They love her in the class. So she says, if you pick up your attendance next week, Bella can come in for the lesson. So Bella is absolutely fabulous. She's there exam morning, mock mornings. And the last 4 weeks she's been in and out, obviously, to the build up to the GCSE exams. So we're very lucky that we have Bella within the department. Also, you can see here, most of my staff are mental health first aid trained. So we do drop-ins that is there for the students. Got my friendly faces here. So I've got Paul and Kim and Ivy who are trained. The 2 intervention coaches, I keep saying coaches, it's tutors, sorry, have been put through the qualification. So especially where they're dealing with that one-to-one, we're going to have the emotional kind of support that's going to, be part of their role. So we need to make them equipped. And I think you would all agree as educators that their mental health situation is not great for a lot of our students, especially the ones that have to keep retaking that, that qualification. It can be quite daunting. So that's something that that we've put in place. And we do have quite a high intake of people coming into those drop-ins. And what we do is also we get the members of staff to walk around the classrooms, making themselves very visible to the students. Another incentive that I've started, and I don't know if it's worth you guys ever doing this within education, is I've done a letter out to all my local supermarkets, so Asda, Tesco, Aldi, Lidl's, and I've done a letter saying about cost of living crisis and that a lot of them don't have breakfast. So they are amazing in the local area. So I'm down south and they give me loads of cereal bars, loads. So I always have a stock. And I don't know if you can see these posters. I nicked this logo offline and I went down to the marketing department and I said, please do me a visual. I didn't want it to be for like students that have free school dinners. It is just there that some might come in, they're rushing around, they've got their bus late and they've come in and they're hungry. The worst thing you can do is learn and be hungry, isn't it? So I kind of got this logo, the brain food mood kind of cycle, which again, statistics are out there to say if you're not eating well, it does kind of hinder your learning capacity. So I've got these posters all the way around. They're in classrooms, they're in the corridors, and I've just got boxes within the office of cereal bars. I've had some ESOL students that have found it really hard because they didn't get as much funding where they're on part-time courses. So they come in and I just say, help yourself. So they're in there getting what they want. It's not for just certain students, it's for everybody. And all they have to do is ask for a cereal bar. It's just another thing that I think we offer as our wraparound care. And one other thing I was going to say is at the moment, we found towards the end of the year, the English lessons become a bit stale. They don't like kind of some of the text, you know, when you offer the trains one out, paper 2, you kind of have them go, oh, not this one again, or the boat one. So what we've tried to do is Ivy is very good at making bespoke lessons and getting feedback of what the students want. And I just wanted to show you an example from Student Voice that before we went into paper 2, and it was obviously Ofsted week, which I know we all say just teach as you normally do, but I was like, no, don't, let's have it boring, let's have it engaging, let's you know, show our best off, because they are very good, the lecturers, are making up their own lessons. They don't just get them offline. She did this one, which I thought was really good. So you had a little bit of a warm-up task, and it was about festivals, about Glastonbury Festival, Victorious, and kind of did it on like little match-up games, just little, a bit about festivals and about costs of tickets and is it worth it. Put lots of videos on there about Glastonbury and about how much did it cost in 1971. It was actually free, so there was videos on that to say kind of, is it a bit of a money maker kind of point now. Talked about the profits, about modern festivals, and then there was lots of, like, they got lots of TikToks about Coachella and kind of, yeah, about, you know, about the reviews on there. Some were saying it was packed, it was a waste of time, but they love the old TikTok, so we kind of get a bit of TikTok videos in there about rating, and then kind of looking at factors, what they can talk about, and then kind of going into their article piece. And that went down really well. So they could pick as well whether they wanted to do an article, wanted to do a letter, looking at the different types of formats for question 2, paper 5, and then going in obviously on those techniques. And that was then kind of the question that they got, and then they had to go into it. So I was just wanted to show you a kind of lesson setup that the English staff are popping out there at the moment to try and get that engagement going again. Any questions?
Wow, there's loads of stuff there. Someone else was talking about the hub that they have while you were talking about it, Emily, which I thought was quite interesting, because I think we'd all love a maths and English hub somewhere, or even a space. Joanne Taylor was saying we have something similar to your hub. We call it the Success Centre.
Oh,
and this is permanently staffed at all times, and the staff can create a safe learning space for students who are struggling in class or in need additional revision. There was conversation going around functional skills while that was happening as well.
We kind of come away from functional skills. We found with the functional skills that one condition of funding, but we found that if we put our U's and ones on it, if they then have a grade 1 and we put them onto a functional skills, why are we not going to that grade 2? Because it's still progression. So we've come away from functional skills. We have it for our apprentices here, but we do not do functional skills anymore in main curriculum.
I think there's a real big conversation happening nationally, isn't there, at the minute around functional skills. And I know from working at previous institutions, and where we are now, and kind of in a different region, what that kind of looks like for everybody. And I think we're still trying to navigate what's best. And as we know, and I think Sophie said it earlier, there's no one size fits all solution for that. And it all depends on your demographic of learner for that particular year as well, doesn't it? And I think, speaking from the FE sector, nothing's very, we can predict so many things, but I think none of us kind of predicted the mass class sizes. And I think the EAA has caught everybody out this year as well. So on top of all that, the right qualification for the right learner that is also in the back of our minds at the same time, isn't it, amongst all of that? Right. Well done, guys. We've done really great for time there. We've come in 5 minutes early, so that's great. I just want to end by just kind of sharing the last few bits for anyone who didn't maybe join us at the start, and just spend a couple of minutes. But really what I wanted to say was, first of all, thank you all for spending this this kind of last hour with us. It's been so great to hear such a breadth of different conversation happening whilst we've been in that space. And I think that what we've been able to see is, you know, just how amazing the work that goes on in FE is. And actually, we are always thinking so creatively, aren't we, in our subject area, and especially in further education. You know, it's very clear that we're trying to all work towards the same goal, but ultimately we're all trying to work towards what's best for those particular learners. So, like I said to those earlier, this isn't its kind of 6th or 7th session. We've been running this for about a year and a half now, and we're still seeing lots of fantastic people come through and join us at these sessions. You know, there's plenty of conversations still happening. The conversation, I think, around further education is growing. There's lots of rumblings. I don't know if anybody else is feeling that, especially on kind of social media. We've got lots of eyes on further education at the minute, especially for English and maths. And, you know, politically wise, there was lots of conversation happening. But ultimately, you know, we can only change what's within our reach. And I think, you know, what we do here in terms of community and sharing ideas is the biggest impact that we're having. And I say it every time I'm at these sessions, but we are each other's greatest resource. So coming here and sharing expertise is really, really key for us moving in the sector and seeing and learning what everybody does, because I learn greatly from everybody that turns up at these sessions every single time. No matter how many times I listen to maybe different ideas that might sound similar, they're also different in terms of how we kind of put them across. So at the start, we were mentioning that the English Association is purely based on volunteers. We do have our membership, which gives you great access, but there are also some really great things that happen as part of being a member and also a volunteer, in that we have plenty of publication opportunities. We have our own journal, and we have a newsletter that goes out. So if you're somebody who's really interested in writing, which most people are, please do come forward and drop us a message. And we'd love to hear about the work that you're doing. If you're interested in joining one of these events and sharing some great things that are happening, please do. Or if you've got a colleague that you thought, oh my gosh, that was an amazing lesson that they've just taught, or that's an amazing viewpoint that they've actually just made me think about, you're both more than welcome to come and deliver together. What we want to do is we want to share and build community, so that we've got as many voices as we can. You can keep up to date with lots of our other events. They're always on the website. We have lots of events that happen outside that are not FE branded, but obviously incorporate FE around writing and reading skills. And there's a whole host of events that are coming up over the next few weeks. So do have a look on the website and have a look on our LinkedIn. We always share lots of things on there. We're planning our next Gathering Voices event for probably around September to October. So if you do have a colleague or yourself is interested in something to share, please do drop me an email. My email's on the screen there, and I'm more than happy to have a chat with you. Or if you're thinking, I've got lots of ideas that I want to share, what do you think would be most beneficial? I'm always open to having a chat, or just having a chat generally about FE English. It's great to be able to sit on the soapbox, as it were, and chat about all these, you know, challenges and champions that we're going through. So thank you so much. Thanks so much again to our speakers. We will be releasing the recording of this on through our email. I think it gets synced into YouTube, so you'll be able to catch up on it if you are joining us whilst catching up. Hello, and I hope that you enjoyed that as well. And our resources will be sent out from our lovely speakers. But that's all from me. So have a lovely evening and go and enjoy the sunshine, everybody. Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Holly.